I'm Lila with AgHires, the leading recruitment firm in agriculture, and in this video for employers, we're talking pay discussions. When and how do we discuss pay with candidates during the hiring process? Let's get into it. We really recommend you as the employer to bring up pay first before the candidate so you have more control over that conversation. Our first tip is to know your numbers before you start the interview process. Know what your range is, if you have a set budget, if there's wiggle room, maybe depending on the candidate. If you're open to different levels of experience, you want to know where a more entry level versus more senior candidate would fall in that range. And then you get to decide how much of this information you're comfortable sharing with that candidate. Also, before starting the hiring process, you want to be aware of pay transparency laws. More and more states are becoming required to share pay details in their job postings, so make sure you're up to date with your state-specific laws and follow any regulations. When it comes time to discuss pay with candidates, we suggest that it is discussed in the very first interview near the end. So once you finish asking all of your standard interview questions, let that candidate know you're going to switch gears and discuss pay so they can prepare and know it's coming. You can then ask something along the lines of, so approximately what would you be looking for in terms of compensation for your next role? Or you could say, for a role like this. You do not want to ask the candidate what they are currently making, but instead what they would be looking for. Sometimes candidates will openly share their current pay, but you want to make sure not to ask. Be prepared for candidates to flip the script and say, well, what are you looking to pay? And this is where you can either share that range or give them, kind of a rough number based on what you think with their experience, or let them know that you still have to look into it. You don't have a range yet, and that you will get back to them with some more accurate numbers. We found that the more open and honest you are about compensation, the smoother that entire process will go. We see so many employers really withholding information and being afraid to talk about pay, and it's actually really counterproductive most times. So the more comfortable you seem to talk about it, the more upfront that candidate is also going to be in what they're looking for. So after you discuss pay plus any bonus or commission structures you offer, be sure to also talk about your benefits. Give that candidate a nice overview of your benefits package and other perks that you offer, such as a vehicle or a gas card, equipment, beef. Really let that candidate know the full package beyond just salary. Our last tip is to not just talk about pay and benefits in that first interview and be done. You really need to revisit this discussion closer to the final interviews after that candidate's gotten to know you better, you've gotten to know them better, and make sure you're both still in alignment before you move forward with extending an offer. Learn more about compensation, the offer process, and more hiring tips at aghires.com.